Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, KJ. You say I will be working on my research log and drafting, both towards my MA thesis in World War One nursing literature. I hope everyone's having a wonderful new year. I hope you are too. So, welcome to Write With Me. I am Danita Jones. Here we do two 25-minute sprints with a 5 to 10 minute break in between. And I'm doing research. I'm continuing my research on Peter Crosby and the Vicksburg Massacre. And I'm just deep diving into the congressional hearings, the testimonies from there. So I've been going through the transcripts and really getting a really incredible insight into the people that were involved, the people that were affected by the massacre. And so, yeah, so it's been really interesting. So, again, welcome. And like I said, we normally do two 25-minute sprints with a 5 to 10 minute break in between where you can ask any questions. I can, chat about what I am researching. KJ, you say that sounds fascinating. I love archival work. Yeah, it really is. And it's so, reason why I started the Write With Me in the first place back in the summer, because that was the section that was getting me held up. I really wanted to review all of the testimonies just so, because I'm planning this as a 3 book series. And so I wanted to be able to see who I'm going to set up early on. And, by starting with the end, seeing where, how I need to start build my beginning. So, um, well, and let's see, anything else here? Okay, so that is about it. If you're ready to get started, I will start the timer and we can begin our first 25-minute sprint. Righty, that is time. How did that first sprint go for you? For those that are here, mine was fine. I went through the entire testimony of Joshua Lee, and I've been doing things with. I just started learning about Notebook LM. I don't know if anyone has used that yet, but I'm finding it to be a great tool to use. It's AI, but you upload your sources. So I uploaded. I took time last week to chunk out the 500-page document of the testimonies, and then uploaded it to Notebook LM. And so now I go through and ask it questions. For instance, right before I started going through Joshua's testimony, I asked it to summarize it for me. And so it summarized it, and it kind of, it gives me a broad view of what it says, but it also, because of the time period, the testimonies happened in 1875. The massacre happened in 1874. And so, of course, it doesn't, um, uh, take out all of the biases, all the racist tendencies and statements, and how um, so you have to really actually read the testimonies. If you're using Notebook LM for historical things, you still have to really definitely go through the testimonies yourself, um, and create your own, not create your own, but have your own insight into the time period and what was going on and how things were perceived and so forth, so you can interpret it. But it gives it the Notebook LM just gives you based on what has been said, but not with any type of interpretation. So you have to do your due diligence. um, let's see. KJ says, I ended up making some additions to my research log and did some analysis on a quote I found from a source that supports a seminate. I am making a cultural shift, and I found a couple of sources. Okay, great. That's great. Great progress for like 25 minutes. That's really great. Um, and so, with going back to Joshua, have you ever used Notebook LM, KJ? Just curious, because it was my first time using it last week when I found out about it, actually. Um, and so now, and then after I read through their summary, I went through Joshua's testimony, and a lot for the Black people. I tend to, even though I had been doing it for the white people as well, typing out the full testimonies, because it's easier for me to search and grab certain specific lines or quotes and everything, and also it helps me remember better when I'm actually kind of retyping it. But I'm not retyping the entire thing because that's just way too much. But for certain ones and certain figures that I may actually really focus on, I have been retyping. But when I went through his actual testimony versus what Notebook LM told me, it made me think, okay, well, he said that nothing really happened on Washington Street. But I remember quite a few testimonies saying a lot of stuff went down on Washington Street. So I was just about to go back to Notebook LM and ask it, can you find me all the times when people have mentioned the various occurrences that happened on Washington Street, and I see what it will bring up for me. And so KJ says, I have, yes, though I mostly use the podcast feature, which allows you to have source read out to you in podcast form, helps me to get a summary. Okay, that's great. I have yet used all the different, I haven't tried out anything in the studio yet. Like I said, I just started using it last week, or just even found out about it last week. So I hope to get some time, maybe this weekend, go through some YouTube videos and understand more about what it offers. But it seems very cool so far. So, and you say, I still read and analyze the sources myself, but helps me to get a different perspective. Yes, absolutely. I definitely see that for myself as well. So, and I'm dealing with so many various timelines too. So I think it's going to help me regarding that. Because in my book too, I'm planning on focusing on the August election of 1874. And so me pause right quick. And that's mentioned. A lot of things that happened in the August election of 1874 is mentioned in the testimonies that I'm reading through it now too. So it's given me a lot of information regarding that particular election and so forth, and how that played into what ends up happening at the massacre. So I will eventually have Notebook LM just go through and just pull out for me all the times that the August election was mentioned, and create that timeline. So, alrighty. Well, we're ready. We can just go ahead and start. Let's see what KJ says. That makes a lot of sense. Timelines can be hard to keep track of when your archive. Yes, it gets bigger. It really is. And was doing it manually, like I have in my Scrivener, a section where I was really mapping out the timeline of even just the events for what was going on, which led up to the massacre, the timeline of the massacre, because it actually occurred over a number of weeks. And so they were very specific in what happened on this day, that day, and so forth. But and just dealing with so many different characters or people, is really getting out of hand to to try to keep track. So I'm happy that I came across this tool. So looking forward to using it more. But if we're ready, let's get started into our second sprint. Alrighty, that is time. Hey, Larry B. Um, see, working on FDP because of you. I over halfway there. Great. I'm learning without research. There's nothing to write. I'm going through growing pains, not comfortable but necessary, so I can complete my tasks. That's great. And you're welcome. You're welcome, Larry B. I'm so happy that you're here. Great to see you. I know Spencer always tells me you always, you pop in, but and that you've been making, a lot of progress during these months. And so that's great. That is awesome. So happy. And happy new year to you. Um, KJ, how are you doing? How was that last sprint for you? And just like I was speaking in the last one, did more research, log updates. Okay, great, great, wonderful. Um, just like I was speaking in the earlier in the other break, how a lot of the testimonies do mention the election that happened in August, and so happened the fact the George Walton testimony, who he was a black man who was the registrar. He talks a lot about what happened in July and August for the August election and how many Black voters were threatened to not vote or not to register and so forth. And some harrowing accounts that happened during that time. He actually had to jump out of a window to get away from a mob that was trying to kill him for that election. So this doesn't have anything to do with what was going on in December, but it was crazy times during that time as well. So um, I just really did the summary, going, through Notebook LM, but then I just started reading some of the testimony myself. But I still need to really get knee deep into his testimony because he definitely will be a vital character during book two. And I just have started thinking about how I may start um, just setting him up in book one as well. So but that is it for me today. Unless you have any questions or anything that you want to mention in the chat before I sign off today. But again, thank you and happy new year. And this year I really plan on getting book one written, the first draft written, and I really hope to start outlining in the next weeks or so because I'm almost at page 400 in the testimonies, and I just need to go through some newspaper articles, but I'm ready to really to start outlining book one. So KJ says, thank you. This was super helpful. That's awesome. Great. And I hope to see you back. I'm here Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't know what time zone you're in, KJ, or even if you're in the US or not. I have a lot of people internationally normally popping in. Um, could you speak about character arcs? Sure. Okay. So when developing, gosh, that's a loaded question, but let me think. But yes, but as far as character arcs are concerned, I tend to, when I'm developing my characters, um, and I, you always want to see growth, right? And so talk about that's 8 a.m. for me, so I'll definitely be around. Okay, great. Um, I like I was telling Sparkle, who's not on here today, she was asking me about similar questions. Um, I try to do 5 things that need fixing with a character. And so that I set it up in the beginning, what issues they may have, or even what if it's personal that they're just dealing with themselves or other people, how other people view them. And as we go through, after our setup and getting to our, going to our midpoint, in the beginning, you're always dealing with, how they start, what is the event that sets them onto this journey, and that's for your main character. But some of your other characters too, and I don't do this 5, things that need fixing for each single, character, but for our main ones, and even if it's just something in my mind of what I'm thinking about for them in particular. Let me just stop this right here. But I just think about how I need to step through their progress, because you have your um, they're down here, in their ordinary world, and then we build them to, they're going through whatever that event is that takes them into this new journey, right? And so, and then by midpoint, everything seems okay. But even with your character, so I look at my characters as I'm also plotting my story, how I'm plotting, the story. So they and their growth, just as you look at your regular life, like how were you earlier on, and how were you facing different things, and where do you want them to be by the end of the story, where do you want them to grow to by the end. And so I don't know if I'm fully answering your question, Larry, but I'm going to give you a more thoughtful statement later too. I can even call or text you, but I have them grow as the story is growing too. They should be growing along with your plot, you know. And so, and theme plays a big part of it too. What is the theme of your piece? And so, and that is really reflective onto the character journey. I personally feel so. Does that help at all, Larry? Or like I said, I can do a more deep dive with you later on. So I usually do a beginner's, mini, middle, and end technique. Okay, and that definitely works for sure. So and then, but again, just think about what you want um, your character to um, go through, and what do they want to learn from this experience, right? And so so as you're doing that, think of those particular aspects as well. So does that help at all? Let me know. And you can also text me too. So all right. Well, if that is it, again, have a wonderful weekend. Again, Happy New Year. And just so, hey, Sparkle, did you get my comments about your paragraph? Good, good. Yeah, it was and keep going. It was really engaging. You had stakes laid out there. And so just I would say, like I gave you in the notes there, to just have more certain elements, have more detail. You don't have to use all the suggestions I use for, like, as far as like that one example I gave you about the blood, but that's just one idea that you could use. But great. First, you have Sparkle is in high school, and she's writing her first novel. I will definitely use them, especially the smell. Okay, okay, great, great. So, so yeah, so yay. So happy to see so many people here today. That is great. Again, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a great weekend, and I will see you Monday. All right, take care.